Hey, what's up, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Zach here from Vigor Revolution, Reno's home of the amazing 12-week physique. Starting up again in just a few weeks. We'll have lots of details about that coming soon. Today, I really wanted to touch on this great question that I saw somebody in my network asking because it's kind of encapsulates a lot of people's concerns and questions in the beginning when they start training, and that is, how hard do I lift? So without further ado, let's get on with this. And how do I hide that? Well, looks like it's going to be stuck down there in the bottom. Okay. So anyways, here's our first Q&A. So if I was able to, let's see if I can block this out. We're going to hide that. There we go. All right. So here we go, the Amazing 12 Reno coming back here in just a few weeks. Personal best in strength, muscle gain, and fat loss, all in just 12 weeks. It really is a true holistic body transformation that is just more than losing weight. So there's a concept that really gets touched on often, the Amazing 12, from the founder, my personal coach, Paul McElroy, and his way of looking at it is expanding the comfort zone. Okay, so there's 3 ways that a program will make you stronger. It, number one, can intensify the weight. This is what most people think of when they think of getting stronger. It can increase volume, aka reps or sets. So if you're doing 3 sets and we work you up to 5 sets using the same weight and the same number of reps, or if you're doing 5 reps and we work you up to 8 reps, we know you've gone stronger. And lastly, which is not often utilized enough or utilized improperly, is density, which is collapsing the amount of training time. So if we do this and we know how to program the essential 5, okay, which is a squat, a version of a push. Now a push can be an overhead push like the one you see my client Annie doing, or it can be a horizontal push like a push-up or a bench press, and then pulling, either a row movement or an overhead pull movement. And then lastly, we have deadlifting, which is just picking weight up off the ground. And the 5th and final essential movement, which is not lifting related, but is different forms of gait. So now how do I start to blend these? Well, I have these 5 exercises and I can program them based on increasing the strength or increasing the volume or a combination of the 2. And then obviously we talked about there's that density component. Amazing programs have been written over the course of the time that I have been a coach and a student of strength. The founder of Strong First, for example, Pavel Tsatsouline, he is famous for creating minimalist-based programs using only 2 lifts, such as an overhead push and a lower body lift like a swing or a squat. His latest work that people are really using with great effect in minimalist ways is using Turkish get-ups, which is a full body lift starting on the floor, standing up with weight overhead the entire time, combined with kettlebell swings, which is a fast form of a deadlift movement, okay? So you only need, people who are really talking about being crunched for time, they really only need to know 2 to 3 basic movements and know how to program those properly. So let's get into an example of what we mean when we talk about increasing intensity. So that was one of the 3 factors I talked about with getting stronger. So if I have a day devoted to strength for a particular lift, in this case, let's just take everyone's familiar with the bench press, so let's just say this is bench press related. If I'm going to have a strength day for my bench press, I'm going to be lifting a higher percentage of my max, and this might be roughly, in the comments as you can see, 70 to 85% of my max strength. And this might be 3 to 5 sets of, say, 5 reps. So to make this super crystal clear, just assume you can lift 100 pounds in any lift, and your working sets will generally be about 70 to 85 pounds for maybe 3 to 5 sets. A volume day is going to look different. When I go higher volume, meaning more reps and sets, like we touched on in the first triangle, I'm going to be using a lower percentage of my overall max. So again, if I'm taking the same lift and I can do 100 pounds on that lift, my working sets will generally be about 50 to 60% of that in the beginning. So we're looking at 50 to 60 pounds lift, okay? And these, it says 80 to 10 reps. That's hilarious. That's a big misprint. It should say 8 to 10 reps. What about all out sets? So here we get into the question of, muscle failure, shocking the muscles, different phrases that you've heard and seen in published magazines, maybe books. And really, we're not going anywhere near failure until I know my technique is optimal and my strength gains are starting to really come up. Now, once that is established, this might take some people 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. It really depends on what limitations a person is working through and how long it takes them to get their technique and range of motion optimal. Once that is done, then I'm really looking at maybe pushing every lift that I'm practicing to failure maybe 1 time per week at most, okay? And failure, well, some programs I'll go back might be twice a week per body part, okay? But now failure is also stopping before my form becomes dangerous. So if you're looking at somebody pushing themselves to failure and they're getting really sloppy, this is where injuries are going to occur, and we definitely want to avoid that. I put together a sample three times a week plan. So if someone's lifting Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, this is how you could start to incorporate these different ways of programming. So Monday, you would devote to your primary lifts, and let's say for my program, I'm choosing those upper body lifts as my overhead press and my pull downs, pull downs are the gateways into chin ups and pull ups. So that's going to be my strength day. So that's where I'll be doing higher percentage of my max, 70 to 85% roughly. As my primary lifts, I can superset these for convenience and for time management, meaning that they're opposing movements. So I could do a set of press, rest a little bit, do a set of pulls. While I'm doing my pulls, my pressing muscles are resting. While I'm doing my pressing, my pulling muscles are resting. So this is a way of starting to address that density component and get a lot of work done in a minimal amount of time. Now for my accessory movements, I could take my other form of pressing. So if I've done my overhead press for my strength work, now I can do my chest press, aka my horizontal press, which would be like push-ups or bench press, and I can do more volume work on that, again, at a lower percentage, okay? 50 to 60% maybe in the beginning. Start at 50. Always start on the side of being conservative with your estimates. It's always easier to go heavy. It's dangerous if you start off too heavy. That's where a problem's going to come in. And I can do my squat volume work that day, so higher reps, higher sets. And lastly, with the time, the energy I have left, I can do conditioning. And you can see that pattern on each and every day. Wednesday can be devoted primarily to lower body lifting, squats and strength, squat and deadlift for strength, maybe some glute and hip thrusting accessories for volume. And then Friday would be the flip of Monday's program. So now I'm focused on my chest press and my rows for strength and my overhead press and pull downs for volume. Okay, so this is just a very, very fast walkthrough. It obviously gets more intense than this, but it really comes down to this principle of expanding the comfort zone. And how do I do that? I can increase the weight, I can increase the volume, being the reps and the sets, I can decrease my total amount of time of rest, and that can be inside of my sets where I'm just decreasing rest. It can be in my workout as a whole, but I'm condensing the amount of time I'm resting less. If my density is going up, if my intensity is going up, if my volume is going up, I'm killing it. I am verifiably getting stronger. If one or two of those are going up, I know I'm still getting stronger, just at a different pace, okay? So I hope that provides a lot of clarity, or at least gets you going, so you can start being a little more critical of when you see, oh man, I don't know how to flip. First time for everything. I don't know how to end my screen share. Let me see here. I guess you don't get to see my face on this one, but I hope that just clarifies a little bit. This is a very, very fast walkthrough. We've covered a lot in the last 8 minutes, but you can kind of start to get a better idea of how these 3 factors are going to come in and how you can start manipulating these. And also, you can be a little more critical of when you see people throwing around lifting ideas or throwing around plans. You can start to evaluate them by these parameters. Are they safely and reliably increasing the weight? Are they safely and reliably increasing the volume? Are they including both? Is somebody's just advocating high rep training, that's going to create a plateau? If someone's just advocating always trying to up the weight and using low reps, that too is going to create a plateau. I myself did, a lot of 3 to 5 rep training in the beginning and limited the amount of muscle I put on. I got pretty strong, I got above average strong, but I definitely was not building my body optimally. So post your questions and comments down below. I'd love to chat more about this. If you're somebody that wants to really dive in and really start to accelerate some progress, we can have a conversation. Just post below that you're interested, or you can shoot me a private message if you don't want to post in public. That's 100% understandable. I get that. We can definitely set up a time. I do free consults for anyone interested. Start looking at your lifestyle, the amount of time you have, the amount of stress you have, your work schedule, your obligations, whether there's kids, church, different activities that you are committed to doing. We can make a plan based around your life. All right, take care. Have a great day.